The old man walked in quietly, his clothes faded, his steps slow, and not one person in that hotel moved to help him. They looked at him the way people look at something they want to remove from their sight. Security stopped him before he could say a single word, and in the process of roughly escorting him away, he stumbled and hit the ground hard. Right there on the marble floor of a hotel he had built from nothing. And while every staff member looked away, one woman, a cleaner holding a mop and carrying nothing in her pocket, walked toward him. That one decision was about to rewrite her entire life and bring down everyone who had laughed. This story is entirely fictional and created for entertainment purposes only. All characters, names, locations, and events are imagined. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Regina had been cleaning those floors for months, not because she lacked ambition, but because life had handed her a narrow road and she walked it without shame. When she saw the old man struggling on that floor, she did not calculate the risk or think about what her supervisor would say. She set down her mop and went to him. She brought water. She spoke to him softly, and when she realized he had no way to get home, she pressed her own transport money into his hand because she simply could not leave a human being stranded and call herself okay with it. That was Regina. That was just who she was. But Madame Vivian, the hotel manager, did not see kindness when she watched that scene unfold. She saw a cleaner who had stepped out of her place, and so she fired Regina immediately, loudly in front of everyone without a single moment of hesitation. She told her to leave and not come back. Regina walked out of those doors carrying her dignity and nothing else. What Madame Vivian never knew, what nobody inside that building had any idea about, was that the old man they had treated like a nuisance was Chief. He owned that hotel. He owned the estate, the company, all of it. And he had a habit of moving through his own businesses in plain worn clothes, without announcing himself, because he wanted to see what people truly were when they believed no one important was watching. That day, almost every person in that building showed him exactly who they were, and only Regina, the woman with the least to lose and the least to gain, showed him something worth remembering. Before midnight, Chief had already sent his grandson Dami to find her. Regina was sitting in her small room, no job, uncertain about tomorrow, but still holding herself together. When a car appeared outside and a stranger said the old man was asking for her, she was careful. She did not just climb into an unknown vehicle, but something in her trusted the memory of that gentle face on the floor, so she agreed. And when the car pulled through the gates of the estate, and she understood the scale of what she was seeing, she stood completely still. Chief offered her everything: a house, a car, money to start fresh. And Regina said no. She told him plainly that if she accepted payment for doing what was simply right, she would be turning kindness into a business, and she was not willing to do that. Chief studied her for a long moment after those words landed. Then he offered her something she could accept with her whole heart: honest work, a real position, a future she would build with her own hands. That is how a woman who had been mopping floors in the morning found herself walking into an executive role by the following week. The office did not receive her warmly. Whispers followed her through every corridor. A woman named Bianca, who had her own designs on both the company and on Dami, decided from the first day that Regina was a problem to be solved. She questioned her background, her qualifications, her sudden rise, and she made sure those questions spread through the building like smoke. But Regina did not fight back with words. She fought with her work. She stayed after hours completing reports that nobody had assigned her. She spoke honestly even when silence would have been safer. She refused to pretend that wrong things were right. And slowly, the people who were truly paying attention began to understand that she had not come through any back door. Dami saw all of it. He had been watching since the night his grandfather sent him to find her, and what grew between them was not rushed or performed. It was the quiet, honest kind of feeling that builds between two people who keep choosing truth even when it is costly. His mother returned from traveling and immediately decided Regina was a danger to the family name. Bianca saw her opening and moved quickly. Together, they constructed a plan to destroy Regina from within. Company files were accessed using Regina's login credentials after she had already gone home for the evening. A significant amount of money was moved out of the company account, and when the investigation began the following morning, every piece of evidence had been carefully arranged to point at Regina. They called her a thief. Dami's own mother stood in that room and said it, and Regina, who had carried her integrity through hunger and humiliation and homelessness without once putting it down, stood there and felt everything shift. She did not cry from guilt. She cried because she had protected her name through every difficult season, and now people who did not understand what that cost were using it as material for a lie. She refused the money Dami's mother quietly offered her to disappear, because she understood that accepting it would turn her silence into a confession. She left the house with nothing except her tears and the truth she knew about herself. But truth does not stay buried when the ground underneath it is clean. Dami went back through everything. Camera footage, access logs, timestamps. Regina had signed out of the building hours before the transfer was made. Someone else had entered her office after she left. The money had moved through a hidden account connected directly to Bianca's private driver. When Dami laid all of it out in front of the family, the room went completely silent. Bianca had planned this carefully, had dressed her cruelty up as concern, and had called an innocent woman a criminal in front of people who loved her. And now the evidence was louder than any accusation. Dami's mother apologized. It was not easy for a woman who had always carried the family name like something sacred, but she said the words directly to Regina. And Regina looked at her and said she forgave her. Then she said something quiet that settled into the room like weight. She said the wound does not disappear just because the evidence showed up, and she was right. Forgiveness is real, but it does not erase what was said in that room, and Regina was not going to perform a healing she had not yet finished. Madame Vivian was brought in next. The woman who had fired Regina for giving water to an old man now had to stand before that same woman and face what she had done. Chief removed her from her position without ceremony, and Regina walked back into that hotel, the building where she had once left in shame, now walking in as its new leader. She did not arrive with anger. She arrived with the same steadiness she had always carried. She stood before the staff and told them clearly that from that day forward, no worker in that hotel would ever be punished for being kind. That was the new rule, and it would be enforced. Dami proposed and Regina said yes. Not because of the estate or the name or anything the world had offered her as compensation for pain. She said yes because she had seen his character when it was under pressure and he had seen hers. And that kind of knowing between two people is not something you walk away from. Regina also returned to the compound where her neighbors had watched her struggle over rent, where they had seen her at her most tired and most hollow. She paid a full year of rent for every family living there, not for applause, because she remembered exactly how heavy that particular weight was, and she did not want anyone she cared about to keep carrying it alone. Some people spend everything they have chasing a seat at the table. Regina never chased anything. She just refused to put down her integrity, even when it was the heaviest thing she owned. And in the end, the table found her.